Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Bernard McGurk and Sid Rosenberg.
Sleep with one eye open.
Life, sports, politics,
Stay woke.
mischief.
Oi!
Hi, this is Ann Coulter.
Hi, this is Chaz Palminteri.
Hey, this is Daryl Strawberry.
Live, local, on it. 77 WABC.
Hi, I'm Ralph Macchio, and you're listening to Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Back on the Bernie and Sid show. This is for our boy Arthur right here. Coming up this hour in studio, legendary former heavyweight boxer Jerry Cuneo. And that fight, do you remember that fight, Jerry Cuneo and Larry Holmes?
I remember his whole career. You know, my grandfather, that was kind of the twilight of his boxing career. My grandfather judged boxing matches when boxing was the number one sport.
You're listening
in the world
to the voice of celebrity attorney Arthur Aidala.
I don't know about this celebrity BS thing. I'm a celebrity.
You don't like that?
I'm just a good old lawyer. I'm an old-fashioned
He's so
lawyer.
humble.
But no, in terms of Jerry Cooney, you know, I mean, you remember well, we're the same age. I mean, the 1970s had the most unbelievable guys. I mean, you know, with Ali, Frazier, Foreman, Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton, and
Duran,
right, Duran,
the heyday, yeah,
right, and well, my father who's listening would probably say the 50s and the 60s and all that. But my grandfather judged all those fights, and I need to go on the website is BoxRec, and to see if my grandpa ever judged any of Jerry Cooney's fights. But that was today. I don't know.
That was such a racially charged fight.
Could you tell me right now who the heavyweight champion of the world is?
Right now, no, of course not.
No.
I
mean, but in the 70s, I mean, 50s, I mean, everyone knew. I mean, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Sonny Liston,
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I mean, well, then it was off to the races. But
this one particular fight, again with Cooney, and I'll talk to him about it with Larry Holmes. He was the Great White Hope,
correct.
And they played that up. And really, they treated Larry Holmes he was the champion, and they didn't treat him with the respect he
it was
deserved.
Interesting that had
they actually introduced Larry Holmes first, and he was the champion in the ring. Usually the champ gets introduced
second.
Well, of course.
Right.
They didn't do that because, well, for whatever reason, it wasn't right. And we'll talk to Cooney.
You know what had a lot of racial, what internationally known boxing match had a lot of racial overtones, and it's interesting because it was against two black men, was Ali Frazier. Was the very first Ali Frazier, because Ali called Frazier Uncle Tom, and it had all the undertones of the Vietnam War. Because Ali,
a lot worse than that.
Well, yeah, but that was
terrible name.
He tried to make him into a white guy, even though obviously Joe Frazier's not a white guy. So there was just a special on I don't know, one of them, HBO, Netflix, about that fight, which my grandfather judged March 8th, 1971, in this building.
Unbelievable.
9 rounds. Judge Artie Aidala has it 9 rounds. Frazier 6 rounds. Ali, and you hear Don Duffy scream, "Frazier's won the fight! Frazier's won the fight!" Because my grandfather was the second judge who they introduced. It was Arthur McCanty, Artie Aidala, and Bill Recht.
No kidding.
This building was magic.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra went to Life magazine to get press credentials so he could be the photographer for Life magazine, so Frank Sinatra could be ringside for the fight. That's how hard it was.
I believe that. I remember it vaguely when I was a kid in school. Obviously,
well, like 6, 7 years old. But it was the thing. It was the biggest sporting event of the 20. It was right up there with Jesse Owens running, in the Olympics during Hitler's reign.
And all the three of them. They had 3 fights.
Right.
Thriller in Manila. Blah, blah,
was the
blah,
last
blah.
one.
So listen, Arthur Aidala. You work on the team, the lawyer, the legal team for Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, that's what they say.
And they just fired Jose Baez.
Well, I wouldn't use that word. I mean, knowing what I know, it wasn't. It was a mutual, it seems like, very much mutual parting of the ways. You know, when you get into these relationships, whether it's some big relationship, a big case like Harvey Weinstein, or it's some guy who's got a DWI, and if he loses his driver's license, he loses his job, and his whole life is dependent on it. There's a chemistry between the client and the lawyer that's imperative. There has to be a positive relationship. There has to be, the client's got to put his or her head on the pillow at night knowing, hey, this person who I hired is in my corner. I trust them. I believe that they know what they're doing. Very much like if, God forbid, you were diagnosed with cancer and the doctor who's going to operate you try to cut the cancer out.
Right.
I mean, you can't cut the cancer out of your own body, so you're putting your life in the life of another human being, and you just want to trust that person. And these are Jose's. I've worked with him for the first time now, hands on. He's a very, very, very good.
By the way,
lawyer.
he represented Casey Anthony,
and
Aaron Hernandez.
And then, Aaron Hernandez, that broke his heart because Aaron Hernandez went on trial first with another lawyer and was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. But then he was charged with another homicide that he had to go to trial on.
Right.
Jose tried it and won. And they formed a real bonding relationship, which is typical when you're in that kind of stressful situation. And then Hernandez killed himself. And I know that hit Jose really hard. And he got brought in. Ben Brofman originally was representing Harvey. They had a parting of the ways, and again, Ben Brofman is the gold standard of defense attorneys in New York City. But they, again, I think it was a clash of personalities more than anything else.
Were you working with Baez?
Very closely.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very. He's the one who brought me into the case. Harvey
right.
Weinstein didn't hire me. Jose Baez hired me. He said, "Listen, we need a little New York knowledge here."
So you have that type of rapport that you were just alluding to with Harvey Weinstein right now?
Yeah, yes. If I did it, I wouldn't be involved in the case because
right.
you have to. You have to be passionate about what you do. If you're not, you can't just go through the motions. The next 4 months, because this case is starting the first week of September, and they're probably going to go to the first week of November. The next 4 months, I'm going to lose some years off my life. The intensity of the hours that you put in, but it's not just hours like. It's just your brain is going and going. I was listening to you driving in, about smoking marijuana and dropping IQ points. Forget about marijuana. I actually was thinking, all right, we're about 90 days, less than 90 days. I should probably really stop drinking and just get on a major health kick because I'm going to need every ounce of energy and strength that I have. We're in front of a very tough judge. He's going to make us work, from 9 in the morning till 5. And then at 5, it's like your day just begins because now you got to prepare for the next day. So you're getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And I have a 2.5-year-old and a 13-year-old and a wife. And by the way, it's not the only case I have. So
it ain't easy. It ain't easy being Arthur Aidala.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not. This is what I wished for.
I understand.
No, I'm sure you can't complain when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I don't like it. I do not like it.
No,
but I don't
you're not
complain.
complaining about it because that's what you wish for. So
listen, Arthur, all the best to you on that. But the clock is ticking fast, as it always does, and I want to get to the Queens DA race. I watched the debate.
Have to talk about that.
I watched the debate on TV between New York One between all of them. The guy Greg Lasik, he's a Queens DA right now.
No, he's a judge.
Oh, he's a judge. That's right.
Was
Excuse me.
Queens
He was until 2003, and he became a judge, and he's running to replace Richard.
And look, he stepped off the bench. He had a very solid, cushy position that he was in, and he gave that up to run for the district attorney's position. And quite frankly, I have no personal relationship with him. I've appeared before him. But I don't, I know him to say hello, but it's not like he's my buddy like Eric Gonzalez was, who ran for Brooklyn DA.
Well, I guess he's
so qualified,
yes.
And yet the New York Times endorses. Well, Lasik got endorsed by the Post and the Daily News. They barely agree on anything. They don't agree on the time of day. So the fact that the Post and the News both endorse Lasik shows he's the qualified candidate. The Times endorsed a young woman who I don't know, but I know her qualifications are she's been a lawyer for 7 years, and that whole time she's been a public defender. If I'm a resident of Queens, that is not who I want as the chief law enforcement officer. Everyone should know
exactly.
The district attorney of each county is the highest ranking law enforcement officer in that county, higher than anyone in the NYPD, et cetera, et cetera.
So listen, let me just say
if you want to be safe, I would be voting for Greg Lasik.
To echo your sentiment, when I watched the debate, it was all about how to keep people out of jail. No cash bail, no jail. That's what it was all about. And somebody wrote, a former detective wrote recently, a DA is not a social worker, but that's what it seems like all the candidates running, except for Greg Lasik, are acting like. That's their mentality. These are the people you entrust to lock up the bad guys, and they're talking about how to keep them out of jail.
And it's not just Queens. In the Brooklyn DA's race 2 years ago, when I did know every single of the 5 or 6 candidates, when I watched the New York One debate, I go, are they running to be the district attorney or the head of legal aid?
Right.
But, a lot of the statistics and the social research that we're doing shows that just throwing people in jail and throwing away the key is not helping society either.
No.
The interesting part is that what you're talking about is really abundant in the state system. But in the federal system, I have a case on Monday where they're recommending an extraordinary amount of jail time for a 24-year-old kid who made a mistake, and it's almost a victimless crime. And it's amazing because I'm practicing in both places, the federal courts and the state courts, and the state courts are doing what you're saying, like, it's all about alternatives to incarceration. Is there any way we could punish this person and rehabilitate them without putting them in prison?
The public
federal system, luckily yesterday I was in front of a very good judge who did the right thing for a client of mine. But that's kind of the exception to the rule. It's not the rule in the federal courts. But you're going to see, Bernie, in 5 years, I think the feds are going to catch up, and you're going to see the feds stop putting less people in jail. There's a differentiation between this, and I know we got to go to a break. There are good people who make mistakes and do bad things for various reasons, and then there are bad people who do bad things.
Right.
The bad people who do bad things, like the guys you talk about in Suffolk County, those gang members who do horrific things, put them away and throw away the key. But the good people who screw up, whether it's they drink too much and they get behind the wheel, they lose their temper and they act improperly, they're motivated by financial burdens.
Understood.
Throwing them in a cage.
No, but you want to err on the side of the safety of the public. That's what you really want to err. The poster boy for no cash bail, who was spent 2 years in Rikers Island, the kid ended up being rearrested several times since then.
And believe me, the people who have supported him, they're so upset because obviously you don't want the poster boy. That whole no cash bail had to do with certain judges setting bail on everyone. And there's some people, you said $50 bail, they can't make it.
No, I understand that ain't right either.
So it's we're still working.
Hey,
on it. Am I hanging out with you or no?
Shout out
to stay till Jerry Clooney.
We have to. You can hang out.
Yeah, all right.
But look, a shout out to our mutual friend Bob Masterds from the Queens DA's office.
Handsome man, by the way. He's got that little mustache.
Very dapper, very classy looking dude.
Are we going to do an obituary for Sid, who's not here? I mean, this is what it's going to be like when he finally leaves us.
He's not leaving us.
Well, I mean, the room is empty. I mean, all of this. No, I don't mean he's leaving us because of the show. I mean, like, just because of, Sid. He's going to drive a car off the cliff like Thelma and Louise.
Not going to happen.
He's standing up for your boy.
Absolutely.
We love you, Sid. We love you.
Arthur Aidala. So you hang around. You hang around to Jerry Cooney.
But listen, whenever Flipper says, I'm supposed to go out for a drink with Flipper at 10 o'clock this morning. She doesn't feel well. She's going home and go to sleep.
She's blowing you off.
Yeah,
man.
That's all right. I got plenty of work to do.
On the Bernie and Sid Show, we're coming right back.
Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Talk Radio.
77 WABC.